From the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., this is Rewind. This week on the Kalb Report, the longtime anchor of ABC News Nightline examined the responsibility of broadcast journalism to democracy.
Information now is spread so ubiquitously, is spread so quickly, so instantaneously, that if we don't have reliable, trustworthy, objective sources of information, then our whole electoral structure is going to collapse of its own weight. The problem with the networks these days is they simply are not putting the money into the kind of news coverage that is vital to a democracy.
At a luncheon, the chief of U.S. Naval Operations reflected on the fact that more than 20 commanding officers have been fired this year.
By a factor of at least 2 to 1, as you look at these 20, it's been misbehavior. And so I don't understand why they are misbehaving, and I'm concerned about that, and I'm looking into that. We want to take what we learn from these reports and embed that in our leadership continuum and shape our officers to make sure that the character that they have is the character of the commanding officer that the American people deserve.
The Human Rights Watch expressed opposition to fully automated weapon systems for their inability to distinguish between combatants and civilians.
The human remotely selects a target and decides when to fire. With killer robots, the man is out of the loop completely. The machine itself makes those decisions about targets and when to fire.
The 2013 Hunger Report was released, focusing on the goal to end hunger and extreme poverty.
It's really quite remarkable that hunger has not increased over the last 4 years, despite the terrible economy, despite high and volatile food prices. The best data we have indicate that hunger has not increased, either in the U.S. or around the world.
A panel of digital media experts analyzed the role that social media played in this year's presidential election.
It does bring more people into the conversation, and does that necessarily mean that all these people who were never going to watch a presidential debate are suddenly going to watch a presidential debate and pay a ton of attention to politics? Not necessarily, but in some cases it at least is bringing people into the conversation that would not have been there otherwise.
The 13th annual Holiday Spending Survey shows more optimism this year and a slightly better forecast than in the previous 4 years.
Based on the survey results that we got this year, we're suggesting that this year we expect holiday spending to rise by somewhere between 3.5% and 4%.
The club hosted its annual Cartoons and Cocktails auction in the ballroom. Guests mingled and placed their bids on editorial cartoons to raise money for media nonprofits. From the National Press Club, where news happens, this is Rewind. I'm Phil Cordes.